The Korea International Circuit was another ambitious project that turned into a disaster. With a cost of $375 million to build, it hosted Formula One Grand Prix from 2010 to 2013.
Sound and away we go. It's a decent start by Webber, and already Fernando Alonso is passed by Lewis Hamilton.
And was abandoned after that. A circuit that wasn't too bad, good for spectators, and could be an addition to the current calendar. As Asia was booming business for Formula One and their focus was on growth, Korea could be a country that put the series further on the map. A country with 50 million citizens that wanted to host an F1 race? Bernie cheered the same way as he did for the Indian Grand Prix. It was October 2006, and they agreed on hosting a race from 2010 onwards. A deal of at least 7 years with a 5-year option. A fantastic prospect for the country and for Formula One. The circuit? A newly designed one named Korea International Circuit in Yeonggam, South Jeolla Province. It was a permanent and partly street circuit located 400 kilometers from Seoul with up to 135,000 seats to fill. The location was planned as a racing city split in half, a northern part that was built for motorsports with grandstands, the paddock and a media center supporting international, regional and local racing series. The southern part was more of a street circuit design, a harbor, hello Monaco or fake it till you make it Miami, hotels, restaurants and many more elements to support an entire Grand Prix weekend. It had to be a transformation. And I hear you wonder, what about the track? It's another one designed by Hermann Tilke, a circuit nearing 6 kilometers with 18 corners and long straights. Inspired by the Monaco street circuit feeling, the integration of hospitality and racing like Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, and the combination of racing and normal streets like Valencia. Tilke's signature designs like the Malaysian grandstand bridge also came back at the Korean circuit. A footbridge over the final corner was the circuit's highlight. It was a mixed-speed circuit with a 1.1 km straight after turn 1, a tight hairpin like turn 3, and high-speed corner sequences like turn 10 to 13. Combine this with multiple large runoff areas, gravel traps, and you have a beautiful circuit and a potential banger too. Like the Bud International Circuit, this circuit also had several elevation changes that provided visual interest. A challenge for drivers, and it even offered TV-friendly views, everything Formula One could wish for. However, construction was a struggle. It got delayed many times and almost interfered with the first race at the Korea International Circuit. Facilities weren't complete and multiple safety concerns were raised. The inaugural Grand Prix happened, but it was close to being cancelled. As I said, construction was a struggle. Many delays plagued the build-up of the new Korea International Circuit. With excessive rainfall and soil conditions in Yeonggam, earthworks and soil stabilization work got delayed. All of the scheduled work got pushed back month after month. In the period between late 2009 and mid-2010, months before the Grand Prix, continuous heavy rainfall flooded the construction site. The final layer of asphalt couldn't be laid on schedule. All of this resulted in the circuit not meeting the FIA's mandatory 90-day inspection rule. They waived it to help them get ready, but the final layer wasn't laid until 13 days before race day. Unbelievable scenes and foreshadowing the future of the circuit. When they had the approval, you assume everything is finished and ready to go. Well, let me tell you something. It wasn't. It was barely finished. The surroundings of the circuit looked like a construction site, and definitely not like Monaco. Construction cranes, the smell of fresh paint, and many unfinished buildings, they were all part of the scenery. Free Practice 1 was a slippery slope, and it didn't even rain. Multiple drivers went off track just because there was no grip. In Free Practice 2, the grip improved, but the debris on track made it necessary to clean the whole track in between sessions. For Free Practice 3, the track was already changed. A new apex was created just to address the debris issues. Grip was improved, and we were ready for qualification. First qualifying was eventful, but Sebastian Vettel took pole position in front of his teammate Mark Webber and Ferrari's Fernando Alonso. But what was the common theme of the drivers' complaints? Yeah, poor track conditions and debris on the track. Doubt about the circuit being ready for a race came up. However, the race went through, but not after it got delayed due to extensive rain. A safety car start denied the spectators a thrilling race start, but luckily, the race made up for it. A red flag on lap 3 due to standing water and a 45-minute delay followed. Racing resumed for 13 laps behind the safety car. When we went racing again, Mark Webber went off the track, took Nico Rosberg with him, and another safety car came on track. Racing continued until Vettel's engine blew up, and after that, Adrian Sutil crashed. An eventful first edition with 9 drivers not being able to get to the finish. Fernando Alonso called it the best race of the season, and Mark Webber was a fan of it even when he crashed out. The circuit had something special, and that's a good thing. With 80,000 seats filled out of the 135,000 available, the circuit didn't reach the average attendance of the 2010 season. Reports said that people were forced to buy tickets, and students even got free ones just to fill up the stands. Not a good look, if you ask me. For 2011, the Grand Prix went under several changes. The pit lane entry was dangerous because it was on the racing line, drainage was bad as multiple places had standing water, and the track surface didn't have enough grip. With all those issues as good as solved, the 2011 edition didn't have so many hiccups. But still, it wasn't what was promised. Empty stands, a weird pit exit, and a non-existent atmosphere made the weekend a bit dull. It was Hamilton on pole position, but a dominated Grand Prix by Vettel. Hamilton and Webber battled for the other 2 podium positions. Multiple midfield battles completed it, and it gave fans a feeling of a solid to good Grand Prix. But the main theme was the earlier mentioned issues. Frequent comments about empty seats. The track changes were an improvement, but the dangerous pit exit near turn 1 kept asking for a redesign. The ultimate question was, can the circuit survive in such a remote location? They did, as the 2012 edition went through, and that edition was a Red Bull-dominated one. Webber on pole, Vettel behind him, and the position swapped after the race start because the German overtook his teammate. A Turn 1 collision with Kobayashi, Button, and Rosberg was one of the few interesting things that happened. Safety was always a discussion point, and seeing AstroTurf tearing apart at the exit of the curbs again raised questions. The organizers tried to promote the Grand Prix to bring in PSY, the artist from Gangnam Style, but that didn't help. It was the lowest rated race of the 2012 season due to not being action-packed and a lack of overtaking. It was more of a strategy battle in front of empty grandstands. Yeah, this is a recurring theme. The 2013 Korean Grand Prix marked the end of a 4-year period. It was again dominated by Sebastian Vettel. Massa took his teammate Alonso for a spin, but the real highlight was the fire truck incident on lap 38. Sutil spun, hit Webber's Red Bull car, and his car's oil radiator broke down. It instantly ignited, and the Red Bull was on fire. Emergency response was needed. The crash was at turn 3, but the fire marshals of turn 1 responded. They went on track with Sebastian Vettel approaching. He lifted for the safety car lights, but it was a fire truck that was on track. With a speed difference of 241 kilometers per hour, it could have been a disaster.
That is not the safety car.
The safety car's deployed now.
Is that some sort of fire marshal's car?
With the 2013 Grand Prix having the highest rating of all years, it still ended that year. Drivers commenting about empty grandstands, low attendance, and financial concerns already suggested that the circuit could disappear. From the start of the first race weekend, no, from the moment they signed the contracts to host a Grand Prix in Korea, it was doomed. It wasn't a viable business case, and everyone could see that if you ask me. Let me explain myself. The construction budget went from $315 million to $375 million, a hosting fee of $15 million, and an operational loss of $184 million at the end of the period became fatal. Ticket sales and sponsorships didn't even cover half of it. But how did we come so far? Well, having a circuit 400 kilometers from the main capital is a recipe for disaster. The nearest city had only 243,000 citizens, and if you wanted to make it from the capital, you had to be on a bus for at least 5 hours, which wouldn't be so bad if there was a racing culture in your country. Korea didn't have a race team, nor did they have a racing driver. Yes, they are one of the largest car manufacturers, but that's something different than racing. The racing city never completed. There were minimal on-site hospitalities, and the shuttle services from the nearest city were always overwhelmed. with long queues and frustration as a result. By 2013, the grandstands were close to empty. A circuit ran by a private organizer that thought we'll build it and the rest will come was an absolute failure. No concrete plans for sustained tourism or local motorsport promotion didn't help to bring in more revenue to keep the venue running. Fans that attended never liked it either due to the early mentioned issues. It had a middle-of-nowhere atmosphere, poor amenities, and the local culture wasn't integrated. The empty feel, that was what ultimately led to the end. However, this time it wasn't Bernie who pulled the plug, it was the organizer itself. Money Bernie didn't want to cut the hosting fee, and this meant they couldn't go on with it. The 5-year option wasn't activated, and goodbye Korea it was. But Lee, you always ask yourself, will the Grand Prix ever return? Well, I think you know my answer already. It won't. Would I want it back? Yeah, of course I do. It's an actual circuit that deserves another shot. Formula One is nowadays very popular in the country. Around 5 million fans follow the sport, and the F1 movie was a great success over there. There are South Korean stream nights to watch races with Korean commentators. F1 TV is being used, and the socials are actively monitored by Koreans. So, why wouldn't it come back? Well, if you failed once, it's hard to come back in Formula One. They asked Sepang, for example, a hosting fee of $70 million. Then they need to organize it, get events going, and sell tickets for an enormous price. Will that bring people to the Grand Prix? No, especially not if you have to travel so long to reach it. You can attend it yourself. The circuit is sometimes used for local activities and racing, but don't expect anything spectacular, because that's not going to happen. And if Korea ever returns, it will be a street circuit. That's the only thing Liberty Media is interested in. I caught your interest for this video, so go on and watch one of these because I know I can entertain you.